Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025, and on Mondays we talk about mathematics and statistics. Happy Victoria Day for those of you who are living and watching in Canada. I've long been interested and fascinated by the remarkable vastness of the universe, and then the statistics that describe every extraordinary dimension. So, for example, there are an estimated 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. No one really knows. It's impossible to count. We can't get the precise information in that regard. But whatever the final figure, at least at the moment, if there were 2 trillion galaxies, then that means that there could be as many as 200 billion trillion stars in the universe. Again, this is if an average galaxy has 200 billion stars on average as well. So, for that matter, based on our current technology and observations, we believe that the observable universe itself is about 93 billion light years in diameter. And we don't know how much space then exists potentially beyond the observable universe, or for that matter, if the universe is actually infinite. We just can't say with any certainty. But I'm also equally fascinated by the statistical information closer to home, as in the mathematics that describes all of the different facets of our experiences here on this planet, from the human condition to our best estimates of other natural phenomena, from the animal and plant life species that exist on the Earth to the atmospheric conditions, to the amount of water and natural resources available. I find it oddly satisfying and soothing to locate ourselves humbly within the vastness of our own earthly environment. For example, as a planet, we know that the diameter through the center of the Earth is 7,926 miles, or 12,756 kilometers. The Earth bulges at the equators and flattens slightly at the poles as a result of the force caused by the planet's rotation. And the Earth's rotational speed, of course, is faster at the equator than at the poles, which is the case for all rotating spheres. Basic physics. The Earth's surface is about 197 million square miles, or about 510 million square kilometers. And as best we can determine, there are an estimated 8.2 billion people currently living on the Earth's surface. And that number's changing literally every second, of course. Well, the United Nations estimated that we surpassed that figure of 8 billion in 2022. And so that means that for the first, roughly 300,000 years of human history and prehistory, that's what it took for us to reach the first billion people on the planet. And then it only took 218 years to get to 8 billion on the planet. And more people than are still being born than are dying every second. In fact, at a ratio of roughly 2 to 1. And what do we speak here on Earth? Well, more than 1.5 billion people speak English. 1.2 billion can speak Mandarin. And over 600 million can speak Hindi. Almost as many can speak Spanish. And a little over 300 million speak French. Those are the 5 most popular languages on the planet. And what are we doing with all of these languages? Well, among other things, we're producing more than 2 million books each year. That includes ebooks, self-published books as well. So don't feel bad if you're not able to keep up. And speaking of keeping up, YouTube alone has well over 100 million active channels, and more than 3.5 million videos are being uploaded daily. So do we really uh, have the opportunity to read all the books that we're interested in, or look at all the vlogs or YouTube videos? No, of course not. We have to obviously choose wisely in terms of our reading content and in terms of our online viewing habits. So thank you, if you're watching this, obviously, for spending a few minutes with the Dr. J Vlog series. You got a lot of choices out there. And so then if I could shift gears a bit again, let's get back to the whole Earth thing. So approximately 71% of the Earth is comprised of water, but only about 3% of that water is currently potable. That is, fresh water that we can drink. And it's only a little over 1% of all of the water currently available that we can drink right away. Instead, the rest is locked up in the glaciers, and the ice caps are buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, very difficult to access. Now, of course, we can also desalinate the water, but that's a rather costly proposition too. So if you're looking for the countries with the most water, most fresh water, I should say, well, you can actually start with Brazil. In part, they're number one in terms of fresh water supplies or reserves, in part, of course, because of the Amazon region. In addition, Russia comes in at number 2, followed then by the United States and Canada at 3rd and 4th, very close to each other, and then China in 5th place. Again, this is in terms of access to fresh water, potable water. Fossil fuels continue to be the world's most common sources of energy in 2025, including oil, natural gas, and coal. We'll not make it to the end of this century before running out of oil and natural gas. That's going to happen at some point, necessarily in my lifetime, but perhaps in yours, sometime before the end of the century. And we should have coal, however, well into the next century. We're still relying upon fossil fuels for about 80 to 83% of the world's total energy production, although renewable energy sources are growing, as you might expect. In fact, nowadays, about 30% of just the world's electricity supply specifically comes from renewable sources. And again, our renewable sources include wind, hydropower, solar power, biomass, and geothermal, among others. So, why do I mention these factoids? Talk about the Earth, whether you're talking about it in terms of the physics, whether you're talking about it in terms of human beings, whether you're talking about, the resources on the Earth, etc. Well, first and foremost, and this is part of the point of the Dr. J vlog, it's to become familiar with the most credible data and statistics available. It's important to be able to speak as clearly as possible from a position of knowledge. Second, once we have that knowledge, we can start to discuss more intelligently both how we're doing in terms of our earthly well-being and what we choose to do with our time here on the planet. And so these are, the guiding principles of the Dr. J vlog series. We're engaged in a never-ending, continual search for information to help build our knowledge and understanding, which might then ultimately enhance our wisdom. So, do I get all of my facts and all of my stats straight or right all the time? No. Obviously I try. I self-consciously and I ceaselessly strive to hone in on the best information available, the key facts and statistics and summaries of general trends with each vlog. And I'm happy to acknowledge my own limitations, or for viewers, if you will, to correct me when I get the facts wrong. That's going to happen. But it's also important to distinguish between the facts that we're talking about and the point at which we shift to matters of pure opinion. An opinion is an expression then of a point of view, of an interpretation of the information at hand. And of course, that's where we can sometimes differ, sometimes radically so. But here's the key point. If we're working with bad information, then that's going to directly or adversely affect the quality of our opinions as well. And so that's why we try to have as informed opinions as we can, wherever possible. One of the things I admire most, for example, about our 5 sons and their partners is all of their willingness to be open to new information and gently shift their opinions at times as they process new information. Do they argue? Of course. They're human. We all argue. But almost always respectfully and with an open-mindedness that truly inspires me. I actually just love listening to whoever's there, listening to all the kids. I love listening to them talk about, you name the topic. Again, as late 20, early 30s somethings, who have a different generation, a different set of experiences, and to some degree different knowledge bases. Again, more or less developed in their different spheres. And so, at least speaking for myself, I almost always learn, all kinds of new facts and, of course, different opinions at the same time. And that leads to my final point. With more than 8 billion people speaking thousands of different languages and uploading all kinds of content onto YouTube and other platforms, and on a planet with finite resources, I try my best to do one thing in particular as a crucial life habit. I try to avoid, or at least limit my exposure to people who actively lie or distort the truth or manipulate or strive to deceive with their misuse of facts and information. And of course, that happens a lot in politics, but I'm talking about how it can happen in virtually every public and even our private spheres as well. And so to me, that's the uniquely evil aspect of the human condition. That is our capacity to lie about the facts or deceive or misuse and manipulate with the use of facts, with the use and misuse of facts and information. And then conversely, that's also perhaps one of our greatest virtues. That is our ability to continually bend ourselves in the direction of the light of truth, of striving to become truly enlightened every day and in every way with every interaction. And that includes the facts about ourselves. Think about the expression, well, if I'm being honest, or if I'm being honest about myself, here's what I know, or fill in the blank. So that's a virtue, honesty, and trying to be forthright, and trying to pursue knowledge and information with the aim of enlightenment. The cultures that we live in, and sometimes the people that we live among, the different forces at play, often dictate that we should try to avoid one particular crucial phrase, and that is the phrase, I don't know. Somehow that makes us sound as though we're weak or indecisive or even ignorant. I don't know. But I find it far weaker, far more ignorant, if you will, to claim to know what one really doesn't know. And worse, to knowingly state claims that are false or misleading. And so mathematics and statistics are fundamental sources of describing information, of providing information. Again, even if we don't think we're all that great at math and stats, like it or not, we have to use maths and stats every day to make sense out of our worlds. And literally, if we aim to remain on a path toward enlightenment. So that's our choice, right? To remain in the dark, or even to promote the darkness actively over the daily, perpetual quest for enlightenment. So to lie and to live in darkness makes me, personally, feel disconnected from my authentic self and from reality. Is this true? What's happening? It's incredibly unhealthy. And if I'm being completely honest, when we talk here, if I'm exposed to lying and cheating and people who, for whatever reasons, care nothing for the facts, but getting at the truth of the matter, then what? I feel like I'm being intellectually and emotionally exposed to toxins that corrode my well-being and my very ability to function as a healthy, informed, knowledgeable human being. So let's keep the math and let's keep the stats an active part of our daily lives, a key part in terms of our evaluative repertoire. And let's keep striving to improving our understanding of the facts and the statistics and the trends. And then we can use that information, hopefully, to develop more informed opinions and perhaps even wisdom. All right, until next time, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. And perhaps I'll see you tomorrow.